Okay, hi everyone. Hello. Hi, how are you? This is gonna be a pretty long video because I am wrapping up all the books that I read in July. And before I dive into it though, this isn't a sponsorship break. This is, if you follow my main channel, you know that my husband recently started his own company and he is finally releasing it to the world. And so I'm going to talk to you about it. So please give Cari from the past your undivided attention for at least like 30 seconds, guys. I'm really hyped about it. I'm so proud of him. I love him very much. So yeah, check that out and then I'll catch you back here for the books. Hi everyone, I'm going to be finally telling you about the product that my husband has been working on. Thank you to everybody as well who was beta testers. If you were, your feedback was absolutely wonderful. Thank you so much. What is the product? I would like to introduce Mirror to you. Mirror is a new browser that is available on desktop for Mac right now, and it's a way to organize or just change the way that you kind of interact with the internet. And it's for people who are not only the kind of people who have a million different tabs open, because this is actually perfect for you, but it's also for people like me who when I hit like 6 tabs, I get really anxious. I hate it. So I end up closing out of things, or my bookmarks bar is a complete mess. So this is for both ends of the spectrum in terms of tab usage. So let me show it to you now. Let's turn over to my screen. I've got my throne of pillows, this time for my laptop. So when you open Mirror, you are going to be shown the home, and this is where you can organize all of your different workspaces, and within your workspaces you can have different sessions, and I'll show you a bunch of examples, but you're able to customize not only titles and emojis and the way that you organize things, but the theme. So if you go up to settings, you can actually change the appearance. We have a bunch of different colors, light and dark themes, but you can also upload an image and have a nice little background. And so I have a bunch of different workspaces like study, general life stuff. I have a bunch of trips coming up in summer, so I created a summer workspace, and within those I have a bunch of different sessions that have all of my different tabs. I'm actually going to show you an older one. This is an example of a session where I was planning and researching for my trip to Prague and Vienna in March. And so as you can see, I have a bunch of different tab groups. You can also open and close them, rearrange them however you would like. I essentially was able to really organize my research in terms of vlogs that I wanted to watch, things that I still needed to do, booking train tickets, essential check phrases, which I learned all of 2 words, but that was fine. Here in my work tab, as you can see, I have my calendars, my Gmail, all of my work for my management company. I can open multiple tabs of Notion. I have my YouTube open and stuff for my thumbnails. You can rename all of your links to things like, here's the mail. You can also obviously change the names of your folders. You can even highlight them to make sure that if they're very important or anything like that. It's just so customizable, and it just wants to make your life easier. Whenever I know that I want to get to work, I just open this session, everything's ready for me, I can easily jump between tabs, and then when I want to leave that, I don't have to close anything out. Those will always be open, but I don't feel like I have a million tabs. But I also want to talk about the newest feature, which is Note. So my parents and I are going on a vacation to the English countryside, and we're trying to organize a road trip. Note, if you open it, is obviously a note writing feature. You have all of the editing tools in terms of creating headings or bulleted lists or anything. It's very self-explanatory. If I am perhaps making a list for my parents of potential places I would want to go, first of all, you can collapse the tab bar, by the way. So if I were to click the magic wand, I could click on any image and it would add it to the note. I could also click the magic wand and just kind of drag as if I were taking a screenshot. It also works here. I'm going to just use a random Wikipedia page, but if I were to highlight the text and then right click, scrap text to note, it adds all of that text, including the hyperlinks to your note, which is really cool. If I wanted to just link them to the entire website, up here there's a bookmark icon. click that, and at the bottom you have the link to the website. So this is obviously an ugly version I quickly put together, but if I were to want to share that with my parents or anyone, I could click share and not only save it as a PDF and email it, do whatever I wanted with it, I could also share it as a link. I'm going to send it to myself, and then when I open the link, I've got it right here on my phone as a web page. So easy. Ta-da! And another thing, if you have a million tabs and you just forgot where you put something, you can actually go to home, click on the mirror logo, and you can search within all of your tabs. So it pulls up within my sessions, where does this search word show up? So it's just a really cool service. I really enjoy using it. It has actually changed the way that I work online, especially if you have a lot of stuff that you need to do for work or for studying, if you have research projects. Just the use cases are sort of endless. So definitely check it out. I'll put all the information down below. Like I said, right now it is desktop Mac usage. You can go to mirror.work for the download link. Yeah, if you have any questions, let me know. I can pass them over to the creator. Thank you as always for your feedback as well, and I will pass you back to Cari, who is in the future and who might have gotten a haircut since then. So don't comment on that change, okay? So yes, go Mirror, please try it out, and enjoy the rest of the video. And yes, indeed, I did get a haircut, even though it doesn't really look like it. I did. I also have a pimple now that I didn't have back then. But anyway, July reading wrap up. What did I read? I had the blessing and curse of so many books that I had on hold all came in at once. So I was kind of rushing to finish them. Also, I'm not sure, like August, I'm going to be very busy, so I didn't want to push them back and then still not have time to read them. So I was like, it's now or never. Powered through. I had many a day. It also was just, I can't go outside in this weather, so I just spent days becoming one with my couch. So I'm gonna start off though with a DNF. I want to die, but I want to eat tteokbokki. I couldn't finish it. Where did I get to? I got to 88, pretty much right halfway through. I wanted to continue to read it because the last 40 pages are like essays. The first part of the book is just transcripts of her therapy sessions. So what I Want to Die But I Want to Eat Tteokbokki is about is it's about a girl who has what actually is it called? She has a name for it, but it's essentially like she's vaguely depressed all the time. And it seems like it's kind of how most of us feel, right? And so she's like, even though my depression isn't so horrible, it's still valid, and let's talk about it. I get why some people connect with it, and I do think it's an important book, especially coming from Korea, where we don't really talk about mental health here, and people have so many like panic and anxiety disorders, especially like the amount of people I know who have panic disorder in Korea, like it's insane. So a valuable book indeed, but for me, someone who has been to therapy, someone who deals with depression, it just felt a little surface level and a little boring and kind of like I've heard this before, and the therapy sessions just went on for a little bit too long. I think that it could have been edited in a way that it hit harder instead of having to read almost 90 pages of her back and forth with a therapist who kind of just sounds like they're reading from a like therapy 101 textbook. So personally, not a fave, but I understand why people like it. So didn't finish it, might finish it someday because I bought it, but that's how I started off the month. After that, the next book I read was The Guest by Emma Cline. I read The Girls and I enjoyed it. I always feel weird saying I enjoyed a book that's kind of off-putting, but I enjoyed The Girls, and The Guest is also on the kind of creepy side, and I did actually enjoy this. It was a very quick read. It follows a woman who has a relationship with an older, very wealthy man, and she has been invited to summer with him on the Cape or wherever, like some East Coast rich enclave by the beach. All right, something occurs where she is no longer welcome at home and she has nowhere to go. We basically have a week of her trying to like bop from house to house and like faking identities and lying and like doing all this stuff just so that she can stay in this neighborhood until she can go to the Memorial Day party and surprise her lover, and he'll take her back. Okay? It's not creepy, but it's a little bit, I don't want to say suspenseful. It's mildly suspenseful because I was reading it and I was just so worried and put off by everything she was doing. I was like, she's gonna get caught. She's gonna get caught. It was just everybody's toxic, not good feels, but I enjoyed the book. Again, very quick, and I would recommend if you're looking for like a different kind of beach read. The Guest. I'm gonna turn on the air conditioner because it's actually, we got a bunch of heat warnings today. I can't do it, guys. So if you hear a tiny bit of buzzing in the background, please know that it's keeping me alive. Next up though, oh my gosh, I read Into the Drowning Deep. This was part of a readathon that I'm doing with a friend where we're reading pirate/nautical books. And this is a sci-fi thriller about mermaids. And I went into it knowing nothing, but I actually really loved it. Could 100+ pages have been shaved off of this book? Absolutely. It was way too long, but if you overlook those 100 pages, I had such a great time and I thought the ending was really good. It is about Picture Discovery or Sci-Fi Network, the History Channel, okay? Except this particular channel is all about making mockumentaries, so like the Loch Ness Monster or aliens or something like that. This channel decides that they're going to make a mockumentary about mermaids. So they get a bunch of scientists, they try to make it real legit. So they get a bunch of scientists, they get special effects artists, they have the host of the documentary, put them all on a big ass boat. This is a huge budget, okay? This is like a massive production. Put them on a boat, whoop, send them out somewhere over the Marianas Trench. The boat is found a couple weeks later empty, covered in blood, and there are some reels of footage that show crazy mermaids coming on board and killing everybody. We fast forward to about 7 years after this happens, and we mainly follow the sister of someone who was on that ship. She was the host of the documentary. This sister has become a marine biologist, and she is obsessed with mermaids and trying to prove that her sister didn't just disappear, right? In those 7 years, it's become a big online conspiracy because the footage got leaked. And so people are like, well, they had special effects artists on board, so maybe this footage is just really great CGI. On the other hand, people are like, no, this is real. Like, this is really real. 7 years later, there's new technology. The entertainment company wants to do a reboot. They want to send people out and do a documentary on the mockumentary. It follows actually a bunch of different characters, which near the end makes it very long, but it's just scary, especially me. I'm very scared of the ocean, so this like was not a good choice for me. I really liked it. Again, it was too long, there were too many details, but if you can push through it, I really enjoyed it. So if you're looking for a little dark thriller, Into the Drowning Deep. Next up, I read The Twisted Ones. This is by T. Kingfisher. I read Nettle and Bone sometime last year. It wasn't for me. And so I'm glad that didn't turn me off of T. Kingfisher's writing though, because I really liked The Twisted Ones. This is a kind of horror thriller about a girl who goes back to this tiny town in North Carolina, and she is cleaning out her grandma's home after her grandma passed away. Her grandma's evil, by the way. There's no redemption arc for the grandma. The grandma's just mean the whole time. But her dad was basically like, can you please go clean the house out so that we can like close this chapter of our lives, right? She brings along her massive dog, who is a main character, and I love him so much. And things start to turn really creepy really fast. There's definitely something in the woods. It wants to do her harm, okay? We also find her step grandpa's journal, which says really creepy things in it, and so it's just it was so good, but it was also funny. There's a little bit of comedic relief in there, especially with the dog. It's told in a really refreshing way where the main character is telling us the story directly. I don't know, I really loved it. So if you are down for some horror, I'm actually going to be posting a creepy summer books video soon. So if you're looking for something up that alley, The Twisted Ones was great and very different from Nettle and Bone. So if you didn't like Nettle and Bone, maybe try this one. I liked it. After that, I continued with T. Kingfisher because a couple of you guys recommended What Moves the Dead. This is a much shorter book. There is actually going to be a second one. I don't know if it's out already. This was a weird little book. It was very different from Nettle and Bone, very different from The Twisted Ones. It's about a world different than our own, or maybe it is Europe, but there's a country that they made up, okay? And our main character is visiting their old friend. Also, T. Kingfisher makes up her own pronouns in this book, so I'm saying they just because I forget what the pronoun is that the main character uses. So I'm going to use they. Our main character is going to visit one of their old friends who they served in the military with. Their sister, who is also a dear friend of this person, seems to be really sick and seems to be dying. So they're coming to visit to just be like, what can I do to help? She's clearly not just sick. Like, something is very weird. I pretty immediately figured out what was happening, but that didn't negatively affect my reading experience. It was a really cool setting. I will definitely be reading the second one. Again, it was short. I liked all of the pieces that made it a whole. As a whole, it was kind of like I knew what was going on, right? But there were just so many interesting details within the story that was a good time. So that is What Moves the Dead. Creepy rabbits. If that is I feel like that's a niche thing. If you like creepy rabbit stories, got you covered. I'm so sorry that I just went through this period of reading really creepy books. So I promise you this is the last one for the month, but I read Dark and Shallow Lies. This was also recommended to me by you guys. This was, how do I describe this book? It takes place in this teeny tiny town. There's like 5 families that live on this, would you even call it an island? It's like a little lump of sand, like surrounded by the bayou, south of New Orleans, okay? Everyone there has some kind of psychic power. Tourists will come and get their palms read or whatever, and that's what kind of feeds the economy. Our main girl, whose name is Gray, because her mom could sense auras, and her daughter's aura was gray. Her mom actually passed away, and so Gray has been going to school in Arkansas where her dad lives, but every summer she comes back to be with her grandma and the other summer children. So there were like 7 kids who were all born the same summer, like weeks apart from each other. The reason that this summer in particular is different is because Gray's best friend has gone missing. And how can no one know what happened? This is a community of psychics. But no one can tell if she ran away, if she was murdered, if she's still alive. And so we start to unravel not just that mystery, but about a million other mysteries lurking in the bayou. It was just very atmospheric, really good for like a summer creepy read. I kind of figured out what was going on pretty quickly, but that was okay. I thought the ending's interesting. If you've read it, let me know what you think of the ending. Dark and Shallow Lies. Oh my god, what a blur. I don't remember reading this book. I know I did. Someone recommended it to me. This is how I even heard about it. It was from you guys, so blame's on you. It's called Rhapsodic. It is a dark fantasy. I know some people will like it. It wasn't for me, but I know it is right up so many people's alley. What is it about? It is about a girl. What's her deal? What's her past? I know her present, but what's her past? Oh, bingo. Okay, so there is a magical world. Okay, we still have the real world. She lives in LA, and she was raised by her stepfather, who was like a baddie in the magic world, just like a rich sleazeball. He was like a lawyer or something like that. Investment guy, whatever. And he repeatedly abused her. So like dark fantasy, look up the triggers. One day she kills him. She just snaps and she kills him. He's such a big deal in the world, and he has very dangerous friends in the magic society. So she calls someone called the Bargainer. He will basically make anything disappear, like sweep something under the rug as long as you owe him a favor. And the story goes on from there. So then we flash to present day where she's a grown woman. There are some mysteries that she needs to unravel, and the Bargainer comes back into her life. We do a lot of flashbacks to understand what has happened between then and now. And she, present day, is like a badass. She has some power. What is it? Oh, she's a siren. Okay, it's all coming back. So she's a siren and she uses her compulsion power. She's a private investigator. That's her life, and now we have another mystery to solve with the bargainer. Not my style whatsoever, but if you are okay with immortal plus like teenager love pairings, if you're okay with like she's mine, crazy guy, possessive love, like dark hair, winged, evil, everyone thinks he's evil but like he's nice to me kind of guy, you might like it. It's got fae, it's got werewolves. So yeah, it wasn't like a horrific time. Like I didn't have a horrible time reading it actually, but it was just not my cup of tea. But I think it could be a lot of people's cup of tea, and it's a series, which I won't continue. There you go. I had to wait a really long time for it at my library, strangely. So I don't know if it's a big deal and I just have never heard of it, but rhapsodic. After that, I read a book that took me a while to get into, but I'm actually really glad that I finished it. It's called A History of Burning. This is a multi-generational, multi-POV story about a piece of history that I had no idea about. It starts in India as it was colonized, part of the British Empire. And we start with one boy who can't find any work. His family is starving. He's really young. He's like 12. And so he goes out to find work in any way, shape, or form. And when a guy offers him work, as long as he signs a contract, he signs without reading it. And he ends up signing his life away. He becomes an indentured servant and he is taken to Uganda. And I didn't know this, but this was actually a huge thing in India, taking Indians to Uganda and Kenya, where also the British were, and using them to do different kinds of manual labor. So that was just like so interesting to read about. I had no idea. And so we follow him and then all of his family all the way to present day, where they end up in Canada. So you're just going, I just learned so much about all the different revolutions that happen. It was just really interesting, and I thought that the POVs switched often enough. They were like the perfect length where I liked the characters but I didn't get bored, but it wasn't switching too quickly that I forgot who people were. I thought that every character was really interesting and had a really interesting arc and story from beginning to end. It was just really, really cool, and I appreciate learning something that I didn't know existed. So that is A History of Burning, multi-generational historical fiction. Real good. Next up, I read The Collected Regrets of Clover many months ago. Actually, it's been a while, maybe like October, November. I read The Dead Romantics and I did not like it. I did not like The Dead Romantics. But The Collected Regrets of Clover was what I wished The Dead Romantics was. It is about a girl who is named Clover, and she is what's called a death doula. So instead of a birth doula, which is someone who helps you give birth, a death doula is someone who helps you die peacefully. She sits there. It could be that the family isn't nearby, or you're alone in the world or something like that, and she will sit with you for as long as it needs. It could be weeks, it could be hours, and just talks to you, makes sure you're comfortable, whatever, until you pass. And so she lives a very lonely life. Most people think that her job is really creepy. She has trouble keeping friends. She also has a lot of anxiety, which I think is talked about really well in this book. We follow her in a period of her life where multiple different characters come into her life at the same time, specifically one guy who asks her to help hang out with his grandma, who is dying but doesn't know that she's dying of cancer. So just like, can you pretend to be my girlfriend and hang out with my grandma and don't tell her that she's dying, kind of thing. So we go on that adventure. I think that it talks about death and kind of people's fascination with death in a really interesting and respectful way. I thought that The Dead Romantics, I also had like just had a really big death in the family after I right before I read that, and I just thought that the way death was handled was a little not romanticized, but well, it was romanticized. That's what it was. But I thought the collected regrets of Clover talked about grief really well, regrets in your life, connecting with people, stuff like that. I will say in the very beginning, it was hard to get into because Clover is kind of a frustrating character, but as she begins to meet new people, try new things, and open up, which is kind of the point of the book, I was definitely drawn in and I really liked it. And it took a turn that I wasn't expecting, and I really liked the kind of ending, the third act, if you will. I really liked it. So that is the collected regrets of Clover. Next up, I read While Justice Sleeps. This is by Stacey Abrams, who I didn't know wrote books. How are you able to be like a politician? Like, how do people have time? I can't write a book, and what do I do? What do I do? While Justice Sleeps is the first book in a series in which we follow this one particular, what is she? A clerk? What are they called? Basically, the assistant, a legal assistant to one of the Supreme Court justices. And if you don't know, in the US, our Supreme Court, our justices serve until death or until they retire, which they never fucking do. It's pretty much until they die, which is a big issue, especially now. Today is July 28th, the day that Mitch McConnell, just like his robot, he just shut off. The conversation about should we have an age limit to politicians, it's a hot topic right now. So While Justice Sleeps is about a particular Supreme Court justice who is kind of the swing vote. What happens when, first of all, he clearly is losing his mind. He does have something akin to Alzheimer's, but I forget what it is. But that's not what does him in. No. He gets put into a coma, and a coma isn't death, and a coma isn't retiring. Okay? So technically he's still a Supreme Court justice, and they don't know what to do. And he, for some reason, instead of his wife or his son, he names this girl, I believe her name's Avery, is his legal guardian. So now she has the entire government after her, trying to get her to like pull him off life support or something. But she has been given all of these clues and knows that this justice was about to unearth something really big. His last message to her was basically like, I'm really sorry to leave you with this, but like, you've got to solve this. So we follow her on this mystery. I wanted to like it more than I did. I think this was sort of a book that I had to just read it, not understanding it. And then by the end, once everything was revealed, I got it. We know that the conspiracy, the mystery, whatever, revolves around this one biotech company. We as the reader get so little information about it, and like we don't understand the dynamic at all, to the point where there was actually like a big reveal and I didn't get it because I was like, wait, is he a bad guy or a good guy? Like I don't understand like how everybody is related. I felt like I was kind of dumb reading it because I was like, I feel like I should be getting this, but I just don't get it. At the very end, it all was explained and I understood it, and I enjoyed the pacing and I liked the characters, but it was just like at the back of my mind, I was like, I'm liking this, but I also don't get it. Okay? But yeah, I think maybe my brain just wasn't quite big enough for it. But I did like the characters, so I would be interested. She just wrote a second one, so I will someday continue. That was While Justice Sleeps. Next up, also waited very long for this at the library, but worth it. I read Chain Gang All-Stars. This was an experience. How do I describe it? This takes place in a future dystopia in which the US has now offered that instead of the death penalty, you can join it's like basically a gladiator competition. And if you survive for, I think it's 3 years, if you enter all of these battles to the death, if you survive for 3 years, you can achieve freedom. And so we follow a bunch of different characters who exist, whether it's they are actually in the competitions or if they are avid fans, because this is now that's basically like ESPN. They have fans, they have people who come and like have favorite players. There's also obviously some people who are protesting, saying that this is completely unethical. I was mainly interested in the two main characters, I would say. There's also a lot of footnotes in which there are facts about present day prisons, especially like the private prison system in America. At first I thought that perhaps they were fictionalized because there are some footnotes that are like giving more information about like the players. But they weren't. Sorry, I'm having issues with my mic, so if this has been messed up the whole time, I'm really sorry. It's terrifying how we're only a few steps away from where our prison system is right now to the prison system that was described in this book. It was a very heavy book, but I think that it was something that I'm very glad to have read. Yeah, I think that I was definitely drawn into certain characters more than I was to the other ones, but I thought that just as a whole, it was really something that you should read. After that, because I read 4 books back to back that I wasn't emotionally reading, I was reading them because they came in to the library and I had a time limit, I decided to read something just because I was feeling like it. I believe her name is, it's just Sunny Kim Books. Sunny Kim Reads on Instagram. She made this reel comparing, I think it was Taylor Swift lyrics to young adult fantasy books, and I forget what she did, but she somehow mentioned the book The Young Elites. This was a series I had heard of, but I had never read, and so I just decided to pick it up. It was available at my library. I was like, sure, let me read this. Not for me. I think if I had read this when I was in like the peak of dystopian young adult fantasy, probably when I was like 13, I would have liked it. But I just noticed too much. And I also don't think that 13-year-olds now would like it. I think that 13-year-olds in like 2005, the way that our brains worked in 2005, I think those 13-year-olds would like it. But I think that maybe we've kind of, as a society, collectively matured. Basically, there was some kind of sickness, and it was like a fever, and if you got it, you either died or you were damaged in some way, scarred. Our main girl lost an eye, but if you're lucky-ish, you might have gotten some kind of magical power. But even though those people are persecuted, at least you could like do something of value. Like basically, our main girl's father is like, I can't marry you off to anybody because nobody wants like a one-eyed, sickly girl who can't even do shit. You know, at least if you had a magical power, I could sell you like to the circus, right? She eventually escapes and runs into a group called the Young Elites. These are a group of, I think it's like 5 people with magical powers who are trying to overthrow the current government that is basically trying to kill everybody who has magical power, right? It was, you know, the love interest, not my cup of tea. I wouldn't continue it. I wouldn't even really recommend it, but if you are like itching for a 2005-esque dystopian young adult fantasy, it exists. And I think the second one might be better because I tried to read the first chapter of it and they introduced new characters, and I think the dynamic could be really interesting, but it just wasn't enough to get me to keep reading it. So perhaps the series gets better, but the first book was just not it. But it kind of reset my brain from like all of the dark, heavy stuff, like adult books I was reading. I was like, okay, now I'm back to myself, which set me up to read the next book. I read One for My Enemy. You've probably already heard me talk about it, but here I am again. One for My Enemy. This is by Olivia Blake. There is a motorcycle. You guys might know that I didn't like the Atlas 6, and then I was okay with Alone with You in the Ether. I thought there were a lot of beautiful bits, but there were also parts that I didn't love, so it wasn't a favorite. One for My Enemy is so good. I know that there are people who will hate this book. It's just one of those books that like, if you get it, you get it. If you don't, you don't, and that's okay. But I got it. It got me. We got each other. I loved this book. One for My Enemy. It is based on Romeo and Juliet, but it is in modern day New York City. There are witches. We particularly follow 2 families of witches who are enemies. They both do kind of underworld stuff like the drug trade, contraband, illegal, low-key human trafficking, but like magical being trafficking. So like not good people, all right? They are constantly fighting each other, and one day the fight reaches a boiling point and it just all goes crazy from there. It was so good. It was like dark and lyrical and like grungy, but then it's modern day. There's like a bunch of conversations that happen over text that are just like witty and funny and adorable. So it was just this really interesting vibe to it. It's an urban fantasy. It was one of those books where reading it, you were like, if everyone just talked to each other, maybe communicated a little bit, none of this would be happening. But it wasn't an annoying amount. It was just like, I was reading it and I was just like, no, please, somebody make a phone call. It was really good. I think I could nitpick if you wanted me to. I could nitpick, but I don't want to. So it wasn't a perfect book, but I just loved it. I loved it. I thought the ending was confusing, but I'm okay with that. I think it, like, the epilogue cleared some things up, kind of, but regardless, I adored this book. One for my enemy. I'm so, like, and so many of you on Instagram said that you went to the library and got it, so, like, let me know. I know that it's not for everybody. The story is very kind of, I would say, like, tight. Like, she doesn't really flesh out the world. We're really focused on these characters, and so I don't know how to explain it, but, like, I can see why people wouldn't like it, but for me, so good. So good. After that, hit after hit, I read Big Swiss. I knew nothing about this book other than I saw it a lot on Instagram. I thought the cover was really interesting. So I put it on hold, and this was hilarious. This is a book about a woman who's in her mid-40s, and she moves to this tiny town. She's living with like an old friend in this dilapidated farmhouse. She's like constantly freezing, so there's that. But she is a transcriber, and so she works for a sex and relationship therapist. He will send her the audio recordings of all of his sessions because he's trying to write a book, and she will transcribe them. They are anonymous. The town is small. She has good voice recognition. She knows everybody's shit, okay? Everybody seems to go to this therapist. In this tiny town, everybody's got sex problems, and so she just knows everybody's business. But she becomes rather obsessed with this one particular patient who she nicknames Big Swiss because she's from Switzerland, and she may or may not be tall. And when they meet in real life, it just all goes to shit. It is so funny but deeply dark. There's a lot of talk about assault and trauma, but like in a deeply funny way. I don't know how to describe it. This book, I was just laughing out loud. It is a not safe for work book, so if you get the audiobook, I mean, play it in private. I had so much fun with this. So Big Swiss, if you just need a laugh and you're okay with, I guess, trauma and vagina jokes. I learned so many new terms. Highly recommend. Big Swiss. After that, really quickly, I read August Blue. I forget who recommended this, but it was very quick, very beautiful, but it kind of lost me towards the end. It is about a pianist who just had a very public kind of, she screwed up during a performance, and now she's kind of blacklisted. She was in foster care, and they found out that she was like a piano prodigy, and so they found a piano instructor, and he has like basically raised her, right? But it's not like a fatherly thing. He's very much like, I am your coach, you know? She jets off to Greece. We follow her through a period in her life where she's just kind of dealing with that, trying to find herself. I really liked basically the entire time that she was in Greece. I really like that part of the book. And then when we get to, after that, she goes to Paris. So like when we're in Paris and stuff like that, then when we go to Sardinia, like it just kind of lost me. Yeah, August Blue was like a quiet, slow book that I liked 40% of. Yeah. After that, I have actually an entire video coming soon about it, but I read the entire trilogy of There Will Come a Darkness. I had a bunch of people recommend this. This is by the same author as A Garden of the Cursed, which is a book I read last month that I really liked. So yeah, I read it. This is, when you look it up, it is compared to every YA fantasy under the sun. It's like Six of Crows meets Graceling meets The Hunger Games meets It's a lot, but this was, I would compare it most, maybe like Strange the Dreamer a little bit, because it's very linked to gods and prophets, stuff like that. We are living in a world where there were these 7 prophets who made this one final prophecy, which was kept secret from everyone else, and they just disappeared. There are people who have graces, so people who have magic, and those are like gifts from the prophets who have disappeared. And so there were a bunch of kingdoms, but now there's this one particular person who is trying to overthrow everything, take over, and kill everybody with the graces. Okay? 5 characters are brought together because of this final prophecy. We go on this little adventure with all of them. So I liked it once I got it, but in the beginning I just wasn't really sure what the goal was. Like, what are we trying to do? We know that this prophecy exists, but like, are we trying to prove it wrong? Are we trying to stop it from happening? Are we trying to speed it up? Like, it was very unclear what the goal of our characters actually was, but it's actually in like the middle of the second book when everything is explained, and then I was like locked and ready, like, let's go. I didn't like how many POVs there were. This is a POV switch-in book. Sometimes it was just a page and then we'd switch to another POV. I did not enjoy that. There were really only 2 characters I gave a shit about out of 6+ characters. I loved the idea. I liked the world. I wanted to like it as a whole. I just wish it was written in a slightly different style. The POVs, man, it was just too much. So I definitely like her new work better. A Garden of the Curse was so fun. And yeah, if you're into like heavy world building and talk about mythology and gods and stuff like that, it was an interesting concept. It felt different, but just how it was written kind of turned me off, unfortunately. But I go into more details in an upcoming video, so look out for that. That is There Will Come a Darkness. Another fantasy that a bunch of people were recommending, The Will of Many. Again, waited a long time at the library for this. This one, I swear to God, I think the book is 600 something pages long. Oop, camera's dying. Sorry. Welcome back. Okay, so the book is very long. Honestly, the beginning of the book felt like a different book from the end. So I liked the end, but you gotta push through like 300 pages to get to where I liked it. This is about a world in which there used to be like many different kingdoms, but now everything is ruled by the hierarchy. And the hierarchy, basically there are 3 main different pyramids. One is governance, one is religion, and one is military. And within those pyramids, this is what bothers me. The book, the author goes into so much detail to explain the world to you. There is so much math involved, when he could have just said it was a pyramid scheme. The world is a pyramid scheme. The world is an MLM. Basically, like, the lower people are the Octavius, and they can cede their will to the Septimus, who cede their will to the Sextus, who cede their will to the Quintus. That's kind of how the magic system works, is that everyone can give a piece of their like will or power to the people above them, and it just continues like a pyramid scheme. And so then if you have enough will, you can use it to do other things. Like, you can power a lamp, or you can power a transportation vehicle that can fly. So it just felt like the beginning of the book it just took way too long, and I was like, say it's a pyramid scheme and we'd be done with it. But we follow our main character, who is a boy that is in hiding. He comes from the royal family of one of the kingdoms that was taken down and brutally murdered by the hierarchy. And he has been bouncing around through different orphanages, just trying to like lay low. When he runs into someone who is a Quintus, so quite high up in the pyramid, who wants to adopt him. We get more information from there, but he is basically sent to a magical academy as a spy to help unearth clues for this mystery that his now adopted father is interested in. So the whole part, there's like 300 pages before we get to the university. When we get to the university or academy, that's when I started to like it. I still didn't love it, but I grew to like it, or at least be very interested. It was just too long. It was just too much. Again, the goal there were so many times when I forgot what the plot was even about. Like I forgot what we were doing, you know? So it just, I don't think I'll continue. Like there's a part of me that wants to continue it because I do want to know how it ends, but I know that I'm not going to remember the plot, and it's not worth it for me to reread this book to then read the second one in like a year or two. So I'm kind of bummed because I thought that the setup was quite interesting, but it just wasn't for me, I guess. And then our last two books, I read two relatively quick reads and I enjoyed both of them. So the first one was Everything You Ever Wanted. This takes place in the future. We follow a woman who works in London. She works in like marketing and social media, hates her job. She has had suicidal ideation. She has had suicide attempts in her life. She's just kind of done with everything. She's just like not satisfied. She feels empty all the time. And so when she hears about this new reality show that is starting, she decides to sign up. But the catch is that the reality show takes place on a new planet that we found called Nyx. We found like a wormhole at the bottom of the ocean, and there's a way to get there, but there's no way to come back. So it's a one-way ticket, and you are going to move there and live the rest of your life there, and we're going to film it, and it's going to be great. You're not going to have internet, you're not going to have contact with the rest of the world, but it's just going to be you and like 100 other young, hot people from all over the world hanging out in Nyx, okay? So I thought the concept itself was really interesting. It was just a sad book, to be honest. It captured kind of the apathy and just the feeling of being very adrift and lost in your, I guess, late 20s, early 30s. She's very obsessed with like the idea of wanting to do something that means something, and I'm exactly that person. And so she's like, I didn't want to work in marketing anymore because I just felt like I was just making people buy stuff, and that's why I left marketing. So I was like, ooh girl, oh no, like, is this play about us? I thought it was quite interesting. It was like a good length that when I started to be like, where is this going, it wrapped up. Yeah, I don't want to spoil anything, but it was a good read to pick up and read kind of in a day, sort of thing. So that was Everything You Ever Wanted. And finally, what I read yesterday while I was getting my hair cut, that I really, really loved is Scattered All Over the World. This is another really quick read, and it is about sometime far in the future. Oh yeah, so it's scattered all over the earth, and it is a mind-expanding, cheerfully dystopian novel that follows a few people, but mainly we follow Hiruko, I think her name is, who is from the land of Sushi, a group of islands that the country no longer exists. It's very vague, right? We're in this weird future. She has moved to Denmark. She has created her own language because she can't speak any one particular Scandinavian language perfectly, so she kind of mixes all of them together so that no matter where she goes, people can understand her. But she wants to find someone who speaks her native language because she hasn't been able to speak what we assume is Japanese in a very long time. And so we kind of follow her on that journey. We end up picking up a bunch of characters, like a Danish linguist and a Indian student who lives in Germany. They use the term Eskimo a lot, and that's discussed in the book. There's a guy from Greenland. There's a girl from, I don't know where is she German? It's just an interesting host of characters, and I just thought I highlighted so many things. I thought it was really beautifully written, especially if you're interested in languages and discussions on like what is a native speaker and kind of how culture changes, how culture is lost, how culture is translated, how culture is changed. I just thought it was really interesting and I really loved it, and I'm glad that I could end July on a high note. I definitely recommend it. Again, very quick read. I enjoyed. That was Scattered All Over the Earth. So we have finally reached the end. I am so sorry if the audio is bonkers. I do not know what's going on with my microphone, but I hope that you heard something that sparked your interest. Let me know what I should be reading next, because so many of these books, probably more than half of them, came from your recommendations, so keep it up. Yeah, I will catch you guys next time. Once again, be sure to check out Mirror in the description box. It is for Mac on desktop, and yeah, we'd really appreciate it. We'd love to hear your feedback. There's a feedback button in the upper right hand corner that has a little heart. Yeah, just thank you to everybody who's tried it already, and yeah, I hope you guys are having a really great rest of your summer or winter, and I will catch you guys later. I have a bunch of videos ready for you, all queued up, because I'm going to be in Iceland and England for most of August, so I'm very excited to share those vlogs with you. Yeah, I will catch you guys then. So, thank you always. Bye.